Good evening. So, I do apologize for the very late stream. Unfortunately, IRL work kept me very busy today. Extremely busy. Just long story short, pre-deployment briefs. But I was able to actually get done what I needed to get done today in regards to this. So, fortunately, I don't have a lot of time. So, what we're gonna do is we were talking about the myths. Like we finally started introducing the myth tie-ins. So luckily I had my iPad with me, and again, always have an iPad with you for notes just in case. So we stopped at Norse mythology, and we're talking about the Yurei as well. Okay, so we will be using the Minotaur. All right. Okay. And again, I do apologize for the very late stream. I know we don't stream this late, but things are always subject to change at work. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Can be seen as a prime example. Oh, in regards to the Save No More video, we're at 20, about 24 minutes out of 32 minutes. So we're literally at the end. So I was able to actually get some of that audio editing done. So as soon as I'm done with the audio editing, I already started getting footage, playing through a lot of stuff. And today's Thursday. I technically have a day off tomorrow, so I'm looking for at least a Monday release for that one. So be on the lookout for that one. That one's gonna be a good one, I think. Alright, so this myth can be seen as a prime example of anticipatory dread. Because we know that threats, we know, okay, we know a threat exists. We know a threat exists, but it's restrained. This can be used for FNAF because us as players, we've obviously played a crap ton of Five Nights at Freddy's games. So we know that the animatronics are going to be on our ass. We're just waiting for it to happen. It's a prime example of anticipatory dread. We know a threat exists, but it's restrained. This, and I got spell. This creates tension. This creates anticipatory. This creates tension, actually. This creates tension. This creates tension. This is similar to how we've done a video on tension like a month or so ago, and I used Halloween 4 as a prime example. As Michael, well, it's the botched tower defense sequence. Michael Myers was able to get access to Sheriff Meeker's house, so you know he's in the house, but he's not doing anything. You see him in the shadows. You see his silhouette from time to time. So this creates tension. Like, you know, us the viewer knows he's there, but the people around him don't know he's there. Like, the victims don't know he's there until he decides he wants to do stuff. So this creates tension and uses this creates tension similar to horror's use of delayed danger. Unfortunately, I don't think I can use horror movie tie-ins because it's so hard to get actual like footage from horror movies these days. To some of the horror's use horror's use of Unseen and delayed danger. Okay. Following up on this, horror games simulate this. Simulate this. They simulate this. How? Simulate this by following up on this. Horror games simulate this by using with trapped or combined threats. Pyramid Head. OG Pyramid Head. Like you see him right behind the gate, not gate up, the barred off hallway, but he's not doing anything. So following up on this, horror games simulate this with trapped or confined threats. Confined threats. Is that texting me? Give me a second. Even though I'm off duty, I'm always on duty. No, okay. Silent Hill 2, Pyramid Head. That's actually the best example right there. Because this forces you to be hyper aware of your surroundings. Because you know he's there, but he's not doing anything. He's just standing there menacingly. So, this forces players into a state of hypervigilance. Could cause strange. Okay, so I think that's good. And again, I just put this here just as an example. So Fenrir is a giant wolf that is bound and restrained yet remains threatening. In a sense, this can represent isolation, also containment and latent danger. Think of it like this: fear that builds up on waiting for release. Like you see him right there, but the moment he's like gets out, you're just cooked. So this myth can be seen as a prime example of anticipatory dread. Yikes! I'm just whiffing spelling tonight, like I normally do. Anticipatory dread. We know a threat exists, but it's restrained. This creates tension similar to horror's use of unseen and delayed danger. Following up on this, horror games simulate this with trapped or confined threats that loom silently. In Silent Hill 2 Pyramid Head, i.e. Silent Hill 2 Pyramid Head, this forces players into a state of hypervigilance and could cause them to be emotionally strained. Security Breach Ruin has animatronic threats that are restrained but are always present. And not restrained. They're restrained by their program, for the most part. But as you've seen, things go back. And I think the irony is when you mess up Freddy's upgrading sequence, and he just like, well, Glamrock Freddy's upgrading sequence, and he just like kills Gregory. It's like, we can upgrade you. Okay, but why? All right, wow, I'm dead. Okay. Okay, so the Yurei's next. And this would have been great for Fatal Frame, but we can get this to work for this, I think. Alright, what did I rate for this? Like I mentioned time and time again, I always recommend having an iPad for note taking because you never know when this can come in handy. This thing has lasted me like 10 odd years. Okay. So you get spirits that are trapped between life and death. Often due to unfinished. It's a grudge, pretty much. Often due to unfinished. No. We're gonna do like another. We're gonna finish up this section, but unfortunately, I do gotta start wrapping things up. It's 7 o'clock. I gotta get ready for work tomorrow. I still have to do another sprite animation stream, but again, I do apologize. This normally is done earlier, but stuff happened, and I still got to work on getting that audio done for the other video. So I gotta get a lot done in the next couple of hours before I go to bed. So this myth, okay. Vulnerability. In a way, emphasizes vulnerability. Lingering grief. Lingering grief, and we need another one. Because we have to tie this into isolation, so... Oh, I got one. So, usually when you're isolated, well, 9 times out of 10 when you're isolated, you're by yourself. So, you're vulnerable, you have grief, and the horror of not being heard. There we go. So you want someone to save you, but no one can hear you. Being unheard. This this creates horror. Actually, this creates terror through presence. Yeah, that'll work. Companionship. Okay. Ghanaian spirits that are trapped between life and death, often due to unfinished business, sort of like a grudge. Think Jawan, Oreos, etc. Smith, in a way, emphasizes vulnerability, lingering grief, and the horror of being unheard. This creates terror through the presence without companionship. It is definitely good for Fatal Frame, but we're not doing Fatal Frame. This works for Silent Hill F definitely. So, oh, horror games. Horror games mirror. Horror games mirror this with environmental storytelling. Environmental storytelling. I cannot spell tonight. Environmental storytelling. Well, we can even just say haunted settings. Haunted settings, and I guess you say lingering presences. I really cannot tell tonight. Let me give an example of this. Horror games mirror this by use of environmental storytelling, haunted settings, and lingering presences. So this can turn familiar places into hostile areas too. All right. Oh, Various spirits that are trapped between life and death, often due to unfinished business, sort of like a grudge. Think Jawan, Onryos, etc. This myth in a way emphasizes vulnerability, lingering grief, and the horror of being unheard. This creates terror through presence without companionship. Horror games mirror this by use of environmental storytelling, haunted settings, and lingering presences. This can turn familiar places into hostile areas. Because Silent Hill in general does a good job of this through its own environmental storytelling, because okay. Environmental storytelling. Environmental storytelling. Situations. This makes isolation. This makes isolation tangible in a sense. Don't mind me, I think aloud. This makes isolation tangible. Because dread is amplified, amplifying dread, amplifying fear and dread. I cannot spell tonight. Amplifying. We'll just say amplifying dread for now. Let's give an example how. So, using Silent Hill as an example here. Spaces, i.e., reflect loss, memory. Oh man, why did I just think about that? It was Homecoming when God, the judge, the judge did the screwdriver thing on Alex's leg. I'm like, whoa, holy shit, that's extra. But ow, that whole little situation right there lives rent free in my head at times. Whenever I play Silent Hill, I'm like, wow, she literally was drilling his leg. Ugh. All right, so spaces reflect loss, memory, and fear, and fear. Leaving players alone in the world itself. That's it. All right. Okay. So, Section 12, Myth Tying, Greek mythology, the Minotaur in the Labyrinth. The Labyrinth represents physical and psychological entrapment. When we think of labyrinths, we imagine isolation, disorientation, and dread. So this mirrors horror's ability to twist familiar spaces into threats. The Minotaur, also my own opinion here, shouldn't be seen as factual, represents danger of monster and environment. In a sense, showing that how solitude amplifies fear. The Minotaur, according to legend, is dangerous, but the Labyrinth is just as dangerous. I.e., it's a complexity, dead ends, and other dangers. Horror games recreate this through their twisting corridors, deceptive layouts, and dead ends. Every map in Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Fatal Frame. So, Section 13, Norse mythology, Fenrir. So, Fenrir is a giant wolf that is bound and restrained yet remains threatening. In a sense, this can represent isolation, also containment and latent danger. Think of it like this: fear builds up, and waiting for release. So this myth can be seen as a prime example of anticipatory dread. We know a threat exists, but it's restrained. This creates tension similar to horror's use of unseen and delayed danger. And again, in my video about tension, I used a horror movie tie-in with Halloween 4 with the failed botched tower defense sequence where they were trying to barricade themselves from Michael Myers, and Michael Myers, they ended up barricading themselves in with Michael Myers. But he doesn't strike immediately. You always just see him in the corner of your eye. You see his silhouette, you see his mask in the darkness, and you know it's coming, but it's delayed. Following up on this, horror games simulate this with trapped or confined threats that loom silently, i.e., Pyramid Head in Silent Hill 2 when you first get introduced to him in the hallway. This forces players into a state of hypervigilance and could cause them to become emotionally strained. And again, this is good for FNAF, so we're going to end up using that for FNAF. So, Security Breach Ruin, and by extension, pretty much every FNAF game, has animatronic threats that are restrained but always present, turning confined spaces into a psychological nightmare. So, Section 14, the Japanese mythological tie-in, being the Yurei. Yurei are spirits that are trapped between life and death, often due to unfinished business, sort of like a grudge. Think about Joan, the Grudge series, and Oreos. Y'all know what Oreos are. If you don't know, it's think think the trope of the female, whether it be a child or adult, pale skin, pale gray skin, long dark hair covering their eyes. Think of that trope. So the Grudge, Alma Wade, Oreos, they're Oreos at the end of the day. So a spirit that's very vengeful. This myth, in a way, emphasizes vulnerability, lingering grief, and the horror of being unheard. This creates terror through presence without companionship. So horror games mirror this by use of environmental storytelling, haunted settings, and lingering presences. This can turn familiar places into hostile areas. While perfect for Fatal Frame, this is definitely a thing in Silent Hill. Silent Hill games use environmental storytelling, macabre, or cabra, whatever you want to say it, situation in the MC/supporting character's mental state. This makes isolation tangible, amplifying dread. Spaces, i.e. fog world / otherworld, reflect loss, memory, and fear, leaving players alone with the history of the game world itself. So normally, after the mythological tie-ins in my videos, I would go right to the case study, but this is already going to be a very lengthy video. I'm pushing for at least an hour for this one, because this one's going to be a large one. So we're not going directly into the case studies yet. And remember, when I do these videos, we usually do 3 case studies. So the case studies in this one is going to be Resident Evil 4, Silent Hill F, and Security Breach, Ruin. But we're going to be using both Resident Evil 4, OG and Remake. And obviously Silent Hill F is the newest game, and Security Breach, specifically the DLC Ruin. So we're not going to go directly into that. We'll do a couple more sections, because we're at section 15, I believe? Section 14. So I'm going to finish this all up at section 20, then we'll get to the case studies. So we still got a couple more outline streams, and after the outline streams are done, we'll finally start doing the narrative. But besides that, again, I do apologize for the late stream. Whoever watched these VODs, good stuff. And be on the lookout for another stream for this tomorrow. Besides that, have a good one, and I'll see y'all later.